Hey everybody, this is Tommy Pigott, Principal Deputy Spokesperson here at the State Department. I'm here in our studio here at the State Department. You may recognize it from interviews from Secretary Rubio, videos from Spokesperson Bruce, and we thought this would be a great location to answer your questions. Earlier this week, we put out a call for questions directly from you, the American people, and we thought this studio would be a great place to answer them. As Spokesperson Bruce always says, this is about transparency. We're part of that most transparent administration in American history. And we want to make sure we're getting information directly to you about what President Trump and Secretary Rubio are doing to make America great again. So without further ado, and to that end, to our first question. From @Mina Alsada. When will you resume student visa interviews? So this is an important question, and it gets at one of the main priorities of the Secretary of President Trump. And that priority is making sure that our borders are secure. We've seen a whole range of visa actions from Secretary Rubio pursuant to President Trump's executive orders since the beginning of this administration. And what this is fundamentally about is that people that are applying for those visas are thoroughly vetted, that we're using every tool in our toolbox to vet people that are applying for a visa. It comes down to this. Every single sovereign nation has the right to secure its borders, determine who wants to come into this country, and then decide whether those people should be allowed to enter this country. And vetting is a key part of that. So when you're looking at those student visas, we'd encourage you to still apply. You're still able to apply if you're able to apply for those student visas, but then monitor when appointments might open up. And again, fundamentally, this is about making sure that there is that process in place, that we have that vetting process in place, that we are thoroughly vetting people that enter this country. And also an important note, when someone is here in the United States, that doesn't mean that process ends. If someone acts in a way that's contrary to what their visa said, if they act in a way that if they had told us when they applied for that visa, they would not have been granted that visa, if they break our laws, if they support terrorist groups, they may see that visa revoked. We have zero tolerance for those that support terrorist groups or break our laws while on visas here in the United States. And Secretary Rubio takes that responsibility incredibly seriously. Now on to our next question. @Elizabeth Maxine asks, what are the administration's long-term goals regarding Israel and Iran? This is another really important question, and it really is two separate questions, our approach to Israel and our approach to Iran. Of course, they're connected because of all the different security challenges that face Israel and face the United States. First, when it comes to Israel, we're guided by the principle that we stand with Israel and we stand for peace. We also stand with Israel's right to defend itself. That is fundamental to this approach. We have seen actions from terrorist groups in the region targeting Israel. And again, Israel has a right to defend itself. Now, when we're talking about the people of Gaza, President Trump has been very clear that they have suffered tremendously under the hands of Hamas, and that there can be no long-term peace and prosperity in the region with Hamas as an entity. The Secretary has been very clear as well that Hamas cannot continue to exist. So we stand with Israel's right to defend itself. We need to see the hostages held by Hamas released, and we also stand with Israel. When it comes to Iran, the president has been very clear as well that he wants to see the people of Iran thrive, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. The president has said that again and again and again. He's also said that there are two options for the Iranian regime when it comes to that, the good option or the bad option. The good option being that diplomatic approach, the approach the president prefers, the approach that we've seen the highest levels of engagement from this administration on. The time is running out for Iran to make that decision which option they want to see. As the president recently truthed just this week, the Iranian regime must decide swiftly. But the bottom line again is this: Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So on to our next question. @Jian Jimhee asks, where did you get your lapel pin? So obviously a bit of a different tone in question, but it's a one that people sometimes ask me here. You can see my lapel pin I have on here. It's a State Department lapel pin. At the State Department in our headquarters here, there's a store that we have that has all sorts of merchandise, lapel pins, tie clips, mugs, you name it. They seem to have it all down there. Of course, there's different security parameters when trying to enter the State Department, but if you find yourself here on a student trip, on a trip with a different organization, if you find yourself in the building, find yourself with a bit of spare time, head down to that store, see if you can't get yourself a souvenir. It's a great spot to be. Lots of merchandise. And again, you name it, they seem to have it with State Department branding on it. So now our next question. @John asks, will we see job opportunities resulting from the president's foreign agreements? Now, I think this is one of the largest ways and one of the largest distinctions that we are seeing between President Trump and the previous administration. President Trump's the best deal maker we've ever had as president. He is out there every single day making deals on behalf of the American people. And the foreign investment we've seen come into this country has been tremendous. It has been unprecedented. Trillions of dollars worth. Think of that recent trip that the president took to the Middle East. We saw trillions of dollars of investment coming from partners in the region into the United States. That will lead directly to American jobs. That will revitalize American industries. That'll lead to stronger bilateral relationships. I think this gets at another point as well that sometimes you hear from different reports that America first means America alone, when nothing could be further from the truth. America first allows us to approach these issues clear-eyed. And let's just say to our partners, and sometimes those that may not be our partners, but we have common interests, and say, what are your interests? Here are ours. How do we pursue those in a way that benefits both countries? And when you do that in a clear-eyed way, it actually makes our bilateral relationships stronger because it's clear what we're pursuing. It's clear those interests we want to reach. We can reach them together. And that's why we're seeing the deals that we're seeing across the world. That's why we're seeing a rebalancing of our trading system. That's why we see a historic agreement with the UK to rebalance that trading system. That's why we see investment coming into the United States. And of course, all of this is in the context of an American golden age spurred on by President Trump's economic agenda, whether that's lowering taxes, whether that's, like I said, rebalancing the trading system. The list goes on and on and on, and the opportunities for the American people will be endless from all of these foreign investments coming into the United States, the economic agenda, and the golden age we're seeing for the American people. So now to our next question. Victor asks, why is the U.S. not interested in investing in Africa? I'm very glad that Victor asked this question because nothing could be further from the truth. The United States is very interested in investing in Africa. As a concrete example, we've seen over 30 deals brokered and helped through by U.S. ambassadors in the region, by President Trump and others, worth $6 billion, just in a matter of months. That's $6 billion of U.S. investment to countries in Africa. And so that's a major investment we're seeing, so of course we're interested in it. And again, this goes back to President Trump being that deal maker. This also goes back to a new view of how we're looking at countries around the world. Instead of looking at countries and working with countries in Africa from an aid dynamic, we're looking at it from a trade dynamic. We're looking at it in a way that can allow long-term prosperity in the region that benefits everybody. And these deals, these investments are part of that. So again, that trade that we're seeing leads to those stronger bilateral relationships. We're seeing those trade deals be implemented, $6 billion already just in a matter of months, and we expect those to continue. So I'm very happy that that question was asked because sometimes you hear those narratives, and that's an example of where the narrative that you may hear unfortunately isn't true. So we're seeing that investment, and I look forward to seeing more investment in the months to come. To our next question from Ahmad. What is your current view of Syria and the future of autonomous region of Kurdistan? So with Syria, we want to see a Syria that is at peace with itself and with its neighbors. We also want to see a Syria that does not allow ISIS to regroup, to revitalize itself, to again threaten the United States, our interests, and our allies. Those are some of our key priorities when it comes to Syria. We saw the recent announcement from President Trump about the cessation of sanctions to give Syria that chance at greatness. And this again goes to that longer vision from President Trump, and I keep on saying it because it really is fundamental. The long-term prosperity we want to see for the people of the Middle East. Of course, a golden age for America, like I mentioned, but also a golden age for the Middle East. The United States government has also been very clear about the steps that we want to see Syria take. And those steps that we want to see Syria take, those steps around security, those steps about making sure it's at peace with itself and with its neighbors, go hand in hand with that chance for greatness from Syria. They are steps that we want to see them take because that would help increase that chance at greatness. That would help lead to that chance of greatness. The president also recently appointed Special Envoy Thomas Barrack to be the special envoy to Syria. And he has taken a whole host of very important actions to implement these policies, work with Syria, try to get them to take those steps we want them to take, while also giving them that chance at greatness with a cessation of sanctions. And fundamentally, again, it's about protecting our national interests when it comes to ISIS, while also hoping to see that long-term peace and prosperity in the region. So our next question from Robbie. What is the USA doing about human trafficking? This is another really important question and ties directly to what President Trump is doing to secure the border. Under the previous administration, we saw the worst border crisis in U.S. history, which devastated American communities and enabled the criminal cartels, which engaged in human trafficking, encouraging illegal immigrants to make that journey to the border, and then even when those illegal immigrants entered the United States, engaging in human trafficking here. President Trump said, enough is enough. And because of the actions that President Trump took across all of government, illegal border crossings are down 95% compared to last year. That's a major promise made, promise kept from this administration. Now, the only group that benefited from that worst border crisis that we've ever seen under the previous administration were those criminal cartels. And some actions that we took at the State Department to combat those cartels include designating them as foreign terrorist organizations. That opens up an array of tools to allow us to hold those cartels that have been designated accountable, to bring them to justice. We're also seeing from the State Department efforts to partner with countries across our region and really the entire world. Because of course, ending illegal immigration benefits the United States, but it also benefits countries in our region. It benefits every country in the world because the only people helped, again, by that worst border crisis were the cartels. So we're seeing this enthusiasm to partner with us. We're seeing actions taken, deals made to partner with us, to combat transnational crime, to end illegal immigration, secure the border, and that is a massive step towards combating human trafficking and making sure we are not seeing it in the United States of America or in our region. Now to our final question from Myra. Is Putin coming to the table to join in the discussion? So President Trump has been clear that what he wants to see are actions, not words. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump, the diplomacy of Secretary Rubio and others, the engagement we've seen from the highest levels of this administration, we are closer to peace than we ever have been. The president has also been incredibly transparent about how he views actions taken by Russia in recent weeks. He also recently had a call with President Putin in which he described that conversation about different elements that they discussed. Our goal here is very simple. We want to see an end to the bloodshed. We want to see an end to the carnage. We want to see an end to the conflict. That's the driving goal here from President Trump. That's what he wants to see. This is ultimately up to the parties. The parties need to come together, need to have those discussions, need to get to that ceasefire, and then get to that long and enduring peace. As President Trump has said, we stand ready to aid in that effort. We stand ready to aid in the pursuit of peace. We're not going to fly around the world having meetings for the sake of scheduling additional meetings. We've seen that from President Trump in general. He's a man of action. He's a man that wants to see constructive dialogue. We've also seen actions from President Trump where he's not afraid to look someone in the eye and try to get to that deal, try to make sure that we're pursuing America's interests. Ultimately, again, though, this is up to the parties. We want to see that direct talks. We need to see that. And again, this is about an end to this conflict. So thank you again for all of those questions. This is, again, part of that effort to make sure we're as transparent as possible. This is the most transparent administration in history. And this is a part of that, answering questions directly from the American people. Now, if you've seen this already, so forgive this reminder, spokesperson Tammy Bruce does a briefing every single Tuesday and Thursday from the State Department briefing room here at the State Department, where she takes questions from reporters, but that of course is streamed live. And we always keep in mind what information you need to see as the American people. Thank you to those who submitted questions. These questions were fantastic and were a great opportunity for us to have discussions around this issue. If you want to submit a question for us here at the State Department, you can send them to our social media platforms, across our social media platforms at StateDept. That's at StateDept. Thank you for joining us here. See you next time.